want to start today by introducing, welcoming home Ian Kinsler. Ian is joining our group as a special assistant to me in the front office. We're thrilled to have him. We're very grateful to San Diego Padres for allowing Ian to come home. Ian and I were teammates a long time ago. He's a close friend and someone I really respect. His pedigree as a player speaks for itself. A World Series champion. He's been part of the most successful Ranger teams in Ranger history. I think really what I'm most excited about with Ian is the competitiveness that he brings, the edge he brings on a daily basis. And in speaking to him, that hasn't changed, that hasn't gone away. I think he's someone who really, really wants to win. He knows what it takes to win. And he wants to be successful in the next chapter of his baseball career. And we're very fortunate that Ian wants to be here to pursue that next chapter, and really thrilled to have him. So Ian, welcome home. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Are we going to do questions? You want me to say
We'll
something?
take questions for Ian first, and then we'll make him.
Let's get to the heart of the matter real quickly. Are you still managing Team Israel?
I'm still managing Team Israel.
So, okay, will you be in spring training at all with the Rangers this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. After that
Before or
tournament's, yeah, probably after that tournament's over, make a trip out to Arizona.
So, Ian, what does it mean to you I just tweeted, and Chris, the same words Chris said, what does it mean to you to actually be home again?
I mean, it's a great feeling to be able to be part of this organization. I grew up here. I was drafted by the organization. You know, there was a lot of people throughout this organization that made an impact on my career. And then obviously having CY here now, it just seemed like the pieces were all falling, you know, in the right place. And I'm truly excited about it. I'm excited to be a part of what is being built here, the winner that has come to fruition, the players that have been brought in. I'm excited to try to make a mark on the minor league guys and the way that they approach the game, maybe, and helping some players develop. And really, whatever the organization needs, this is an exciting time for me to be back with the Rangers, and I feel blessed. I feel really good about it.
Ian, do you want to be a GM someday, or at this point in your life, are you still in a pretty good spot?
Now, you notice how he's got the coffee and I don't.
Is that part of your responsibility?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's a lot of responsibilities. I mean, who knows what the future holds? But right now, this is where I belong, and helping development and helping Chris with this organization and trying to help any way that I can, really. You know, what I did here as a player has really, in my point of view, has nothing to do with what I'm doing now. You know, I'm trying to reflect my knowledge, my experience, and my passion for the game onto the organization any way that I can. Being a GM in the future, right now I would say chances are pretty slim, but you never know.
One quick follow-up. From the time that and I know you're familiar with the organization, not as much as you will be in the coming months, what's changed about this organization since you left it to coming back now?
Honestly, not a lot. You know, I think personnel has changed. There's still people here that were here when I was playing. You know, the organization, when I first got here in 2006, was in a tough situation as far as competitiveness on the field. And then I was a part of the growth of that and the teams that we saw 2 years in a row and 10 and 11 go to the World Series. And there's ebbs and flows to. I mean, I can remember at that time going down and playing Houston. We were licking our chops. You know, this is an organization that we planned on sweeping, and you know now they're at the top of the food chain. So it's ebbs and flows, and I don't think personally much has changed. I think there's still an integrity to competitiveness, integrity to playing the game the right way with fire and energy, and obviously that's the way Chris pitched, that's the way he played, and that's what he reflects on the organization. So, it's kind of a tough question to answer, but in my opinion, really not much has changed.
Chris, how did you convince the Padres to let you just take a special assistant?
Well, I think it was really, I think Ian did a lot of that. I think Ian drove a lot of the conversation. I think we were just opportunistic and fortunate that San Diego was open to him coming here. Certainly, Ian is a Rangers Hall of Famer. He lives here. In my opinion, he belongs here, and we're thrilled that he wanted to be here.
So, same thing for you. I know you were happy with the Padres, but how did this end up then taking place?
Yeah, I think, I finished my career in San Diego, and me and AJ had a great relationship. To move straight into the front office with him and be a special assistant was something I'm grateful for. It kept me in the game, and I learned a tremendous amount from him and being a part of those conversations. And we've had our conversations up to this point about this move and the reasons why I want to be here. It just makes sense. I think my history with this organization, like CY said, being in the Hall of Fame now, but also, geographically, the ballpark's 30 minutes from where I live. Frisco's 30 minutes from where I live. So to be able to make an impact on the organization is so much easier than, being a part of a club that's on the West Coast. But, my time in San Diego was great. I just feel like this is home and this is where I should be.
Besides coffee runs, what is Ian going to be doing?
I think similar to our other special assistants, really heavily involved in PD. We'll involve them in personnel decisions, player personnel decisions. There'll be really mentorship. He'll be heavily involved in the leadership and personal development department for both staff and players. And as he said, really trying to take his wisdom, what he's experienced over the course of his career, the success he's had, and then help somebody else do the same. And ultimately, that's what all of us are trying to do is to set all of our young players up for success. Every player who wears a Ranger uniform deserves our best, and that's what we want to give them. And so Ian has a wealth of knowledge, experience, and a competitiveness that allowed him to have an unbelievable major league career. And for him to impart that wisdom on our players, we're very fortunate to have someone like Ian and Michael Young and Nick Hundley and Darren Oliver and Colby Lewis. And, we have a great history of successful players. And I know it's important to me. It's very important to Boch that we involve those guys and keep them a part of the organization. I think with Ian specifically, he wants to be very involved and active and really roll up his sleeves and make an impact, and we're grateful for that.
Ian, you talked a minute ago about the ebbs and flows. You got to go be part of the World Series champion. You got to be part of the only 2 World Series teams in this organization. What do you see now that might be set up for this team to be able to maybe get back to those heights again?
Yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory when you look at what moves have been made, starting with the first one with hiring Boch. And then once you have a Hall of Fame manager, somebody that has been there and done that, has won multiple World Series and knows what that looks like, at the helm, everything else kind of falls into place. And then obviously what Ray Davis has committed to this organization and acquiring, allowing CY to acquire the players that he has, it just seems like all the pieces are falling into place. And, that's not the reason necessarily why I decided to leave San Diego and come here, because they got a pretty good club there also. But, seeing what the Rangers have done this winter is very exciting, and Ray's obviously committed to winning. And then, you put Bochy at the head, and everything seems to fall in place after that. You're able to bring back a guy like Mike Maddox and, just some stability, and it looks really nice.
And you mentioned specifically some of the moves the club's made the last year or so, bringing guys in. If they hadn't made those moves, would you have wanted to be a part of this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
Just because of my history in this organization, being drafted by this organization, coming up through the minor leagues, the people, I wasn't a first-round pick. This wasn't like a red carpet thing for me here. So the amount of people that had an impact on my career might be a little bit greater than most people. As a 17th rounder, you lean heavily on a lot of people. And so this feels like home to me. I mean, it feels right. So regardless of the moves that were made this winter, where the organization is standing, it feels, I know we've been saying this a lot, but it feels like home for me, or second home. You hear athletes say that a lot, as it's kind of a second home, a clubhouse or a organization, and that's the feel that I have here.
Anything else for Kins? Okay, so we'll take questions for CY. You can come down.
All right, thanks.
And if anybody needs,
Thanks, Ian.
You guys want to do him after? Okay, so we'll let him. No, just hang. Thank you. Okay, questions for Chris?
So I'm just thinking, Mike should probably be up here for this as well, but I'll ask him separately. But I'm just looking at like projects for spring, right?
Yeah.
And you've talked about all the pitching moves are very clear, but you've added a number of guys who are top tier pitchers, all of whom who have an injury this spring.
Sure.
How do you negotiate or navigate like getting through spring with these guys healthy and creating a plan for the year for them?
Well, I think Mike can speak to the workload management some and the build out of their schedules respectively. But I think that ultimately we have targets in mind in terms of opening day being a significant one, and then obviously wanting these guys healthy in October as well and finishing strong. We need to have these guys over the duration of the season, and if we're going to get to where we want to go, our hope is to be playing baseball in October. So, the calendar dictates certain points in the season where we want to make sure we're optimizing our players' performance. And so working backwards, Mike's done this for a long time. He knows how to build out rotations and schedules for really any type of pitcher, whether it's all-star pitcher or young rookie trying to compete to make the team. So working backwards and then just staying in constant communication with our performance department, our medical group, and with Boach, and making sure that every day we know how these guys are feeling, what they're capable of, and how far to push them.
So like one of the eternal truths of spring training is we got to stay healthy, right? You ask somebody, what's the biggest thing you got to do in spring training? Got to stay healthy. That obviously applies here. Given your depth now, and given these guys' histories, is that a harder truth, or are you better situated if you do have some kind of blip?
I mean, I think we're in a better spot now with our depth than we were a year ago. If one of our starting pitchers went down last year, we certainly wouldn't feel as good about where we are now. So I think, but ultimately, I want to come out of spring training with everybody healthy. I just recognize that's, maybe not realistic completely. Guys have bumps in the road and things that happen, but our expectation is with our medical group and the way they've managed the off season, the way these guys have worked, everyone feels good coming in, and our goal is to get them through spring training feeling equally as good.
In that depth is Glenn Otto and Dane Dunning, whose path to the big league rotation is a lot different than it was on October 5th or whatever day. Will you look at them in relief roles? How seriously will you do that? And then B, Do you have to say anything?
Yeah, I think we'll go into camp building both those guys up as starters. We feel good about where Dane is in terms of his recovery. He's had a great offseason. I saw him last week. He looks wonderful, in shape, fit. His hip is feeling great, so we're excited about where he is. We'll build them both up. I think they both could be realistic contributors to our team, in multiple roles. So, but that will sort itself out a little bit as we get through camp.
What else, Mac?
Chris, this is your first spring training sort of, I don't want to say by yourself, but John's not here anymore. Does the job feel any different as a result of that sort of change?
Yes and no. I think yes in the sense that having JD and his wisdom, his familiarity with the organization, and certainly his sort of the stamp he had on the organization in terms of the personnel, a lot of the coaches, a lot of the hires, everybody here, most of the people here are here because JD or somebody from JD's group hired them. And so, yes, it will be different in terms of not having him here. No, in the sense that, we have a vision, a commitment to what we're doing, what we're building. And we're looking forward to continuing the same goals that existed when JD was here of building out a sustained winner for this organization, for our fans. And so, ultimately, spring training always, no two spring trainings are the same. I felt that as a player. I've certainly felt that the last 2 years when JD was here. And, I'm sure there'll be differences. There'll be things that remain the same. But ultimately, we're focused on where we need to go.
Last thing. You've mentioned, I think since the draft last year, about the need and the feeling that the team was good enough to compete for the postseason. Do you feel like this is something you have to do here in 2023?
I feel a responsibility to our fans that we are committed to winning and that we are putting the best team on the field to win and compete for the playoffs. So, yes, in a sense that I don't like losing. I know our players don't. I know our manager didn't come out of retirement to lose. So, yes, in terms of that's our expectation. And if we're not putting a team together to win, then we're not doing our job. So I certainly I wouldn't say that I feel a sense of it has to happen. If it doesn't happen, then we're a complete failure. I think that this is something we're trying to build for the long term, and I recognize it may not happen exactly at the pace or timing that we want. But nonetheless, I feel very good about the commitment we've made to winning. It starts with ownership and all the moves we've made over the last 2 years. And the roster we have going into spring training. I recognize that our division is tough. Anaheim has improved. Certainly Seattle and Houston were both playoff teams last year. We have our work cut out for us. But I believe in our group. I believe in the leadership we have in the dugout. And I'm excited for what's ahead.
You were talking a minute ago, obviously, about how things have changed without JD here. And there was a time after that happened last year where you were kind of gathering who was around and all that. You've had time to kind of get your current staff together. Are you guys all kind of on the same page now? Are all the roles established the way they need to be going into this season?
Yeah, I feel very good about the group we have from a front office standpoint. We've really the group has come together. Certainly, there was a lot of change last year. But we've had a very productive offseason. I think it's allowed a number of members of our group to really spread their wings, and it's been really fun to see. Every decision we've made has been a group effort, and I think we all recognize, though, and I'll speak to just really the organization as a whole. I mean, I think that we're tired of losing. Everybody here is tired of losing. You feel that with every conversation we have. People are motivated. They want to win. And it's really been a fun offseason to see that mentality amongst everybody in the front office, the coaching staff, every department we have. And I'm excited about where we are. We're always going to look to improve and get better. And it's constant. You can never be satisfied. And so I think that while we've come together, we feel good about where we are. We still have a lot of work left to do.
And I wanted to ask about Bees. Obviously, he had the opportunity as an interim manager, and I'm sure there was disappointment in not getting the job. But talk about his value to Bochy on the staff, the experience he has, longest-serving member of the staff, but also just what that experience as the manager of this team and with a lot of these same players was, and what that'll do?
Yeah, I think, first of all, Bees is just the ultimate professional. He's handled this unbelievably well. He's such a leader, such a great person, really, in a lot of ways, the glue to our coaching staff. And really just have great admiration for the person, the way he's gone about everything, the way he's handled things, and the way he's supported us. Bees is a Ranger, and he wants to win, and he's committed to being here, and we're so thankful for that. In terms of his relationship with Boch, it's been tremendous. I know Boch has relied on him a lot. Bees has a unique ability to connect, not just with players, not just with staff, but throughout the organization, with front office, I'm sure with you all as media members. And I really can't express the value that he brings to the organization in terms of that. And so we're thrilled that he's back. We're excited for the impact he's going to continue to make on the organization, and he'll always be an important part of what we're doing.
So you guys won 68 games last year, and the last wild card team won 86, and the year before it was 91. 91 didn't get you in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you going to get 18 to 23 victories?
Well, I think, first of all, I think we underachieved last year. I think we should have won more games than we did. So I think we're starting 68, I don't think is a number that's reflective of really what we should have been. And then I think we've made significant upgrades. What that win total looks like, I can't specifically say, but I have said it before and I'll say it again, that my expectation is we become an organization that overachieves instead of underachieves. And what that means, or what the win total is, I can't predict, but whatever that is, I expect us to win more than that.
In regards to Josh Young, right, he didn't have a spring training last year, really didn't have much of one in 21, and in 20 was cut short even after his summer camp. So how much momentum, or how important is it, do you think, for him to gain some momentum this spring to carry into the season?
Yeah, I think it started last September just by getting to the big leagues and, experiencing some of the highs, some of the lows that he went through in September. I think that was the start of momentum. I think for this offseason, it's been wonderful for Josh, and I can speak to this as a former player, to go through an offseason where you're actually training and not rehabbing. It's big. And so he's had a great offseason. He's feeling great. We're excited about him coming into camp, and his future, we think, is very bright. That said, we recognize it's going to be his first full season of the big leagues. There are going to be bumps in the road. That's normal, but he's got to go through it. He'll get through it. He'll persevere, and we're excited about where he is right now.
Anything else?
Oh,
You got? Done?
What are you guys done? It's 71, I guess, with this reported signing last week. Are you guys done, or do you still have room to add?
I won't say we're done. We'll stay open-minded. I've said it all off-season. We'll continue to look for any way to improve our club, and so we'll remain open-minded, but we're pretty close to being done if we are not done.
Where's Mitch health-wise, and then what? Maybe it's too early, but have you guys discussed a plan in terms of how you want to use him as a catcher versus other options, and what those other options would be?
Yeah, Mitch has done very well. His rehab has gone according to plan. He's feeling great. The reports from the medical group have been very positive. We expect him to come in and be, if not fully ready, close to ready in terms of the workload, and really it's the throwing as a catcher. I think his forearm is feeling very good at this point, and we're excited about that. Certainly Mitch, what he brings from an offensive standpoint, his bat in the middle of our lineup, the quality of his approach is significant. And I think we saw a drop-off there last year when Mitch went down. We're excited to get him back. And I think for us to manage the workload a little bit, make sure that we're not pushing him too hard too early in terms of the work behind the plate. We have, obviously, with Jonah, we have two great options behind the plate. We're excited about both. And I think Mitch seeing a lot of time at DH as well will be beneficial to Mitch and keep him fresh and healthy and allow him to have a really good season.
Is the plan for him to get any work at first, just in case?
We've discussed it. I think certainly if we're facing a tough left-handed pitcher, we want to give Nate a day. I mean, Nate played. Nate wants to play, and so I think he handled lefties last year. So Nate's our first baseman. You always need a backup plan, so we'll rotate a few guys through there just to get some work. But we're excited about Nate being our first baseman and playing there for the majority of the time.
Devin Grant.
So as we sit here today, I mean, you just mentioned some at-bats for Mitch at DH. As we sit here today, you go to camp, where do you think the majority of your DH at-bats come from?
Well, I think it's I think having some flexibility and some versatility at the DH position is important. I think that's one thing we, by design, have committed to. So, we have some young guys that could see some time there between, depending on how camp goes and who makes the team. But obviously, we expect Brad Miller to bounce back, and he could be in that role a lot with Mitch there too. And we'll see, what transpires in Arizona during camp and who really emerges as the best options.
So there's not somebody that, like right now at the top of your mind, like you would envision having the plurality of at-bats?
Absolutely. I think we're going to be more matchup driven in terms of who's DHing and really probably who's playing left field as well.
And I asked the manager this before Christmas, and he said, "I'll find a third catcher." Are you guys convinced that Mitch and Jonah are enough to catch, or do you need Sam Huff or Sandy Leone for a couple weeks?
Well, I think that'll be determined by Mitch's health through camp, where he is in his recovery, and really even assuming he's feeling good, where Sam Huff and Sandy are in terms of their performance, that may dictate part of it as well. But we feel very good about the options we have between Sam and adding Sandy Leone as an NRI. So, we want the best. We want Mitch to be healthy. We're going to make sure that we don't push him too fast. But that said, he's in a great spot, and I think on target for opening day right now.